I wanted to ask, I guess the government contracts for the 500 million tests specify that they would be for the January to March period. So does that mean that the goal of the administration is to have them all manufactured and distributed in the first quarter, or just manufactured, or?
It's a great question. What I know here is that we expect to get the first set of the 500 million in early January, and we expect that the rest will come in the weeks to follow. I would be surprised if it was that distribution was required in that time, but I will check with our team to see.
Also, some epidemiologists have criticized the administration for not being as focused on masking, and I wondered if the administration is considering, for example, sending N95 masks to Americans, which would have a longer use time as opposed to the testing.
We have an abundance of masks at our disposal in the federal government, and we work with community health centers, rural health centers, a range of medical organizations to make sure that people have the supplies they need. And if that's something that, as we're engaging with a governor or a local health official, they need, we have ample supply in the government. So we are just addressing needs as they come up, but we have not seen a shortage at this point in time. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm sorry. Just jumping on what Peter had said, another thing that the president said in his interview was, I wish I had thought about ordering 500 million tests 2 months ago. And I just wondered, I mean, we all knew variants were on the rise, the Christmas holiday season was coming. Why didn't anyone think of it in advance?
Well, I would say we did take steps to rapidly increase our testing capacity as of the summer. And I would just go back to kind of the chain of events here to remind people of, and we forget, June was a long time ago, but before the Delta variant was on the rise, there was not a demand for testing in this country. There really wasn't. Then Delta obviously increased the demand. We also had to take steps as a federal government to build up the market because the market wasn't there to meet if the demand rose. What the president did with the Defense Production Act is to do exactly that, investing $3 billion several months ago to make sure we were building up the market, to make sure we had the capacity. There wouldn't have been 500 billion tests to order several months ago. So the $3 billion investment, the use of the Defense Production Act, actually increased capacity in the market. And that allowed us to quadruple our testing capacity and allowed us to get to this point where we're able to make the significant order that we made. I would also note that I said before, though, that, and also the FDA authorized 5 new at-home tests since October. So the fact that there's additional tests available has also meant that there's additional capacity out there and different kinds of tests we can order from. Go ahead.
Jen, just to follow up on that, because it is the president who said himself that he wishes that he had thought about this idea 2 months ago. And public health experts have been saying for months, including 2 months ago, that there was not enough testing supply. So why did nobody think of this, or did the president miss the mark here?
I think what I conveyed just to Alex, but I'm happy to reiterate to you, is that the president and the team did take steps to increase capacity. Of course, if there would have been 500 billion tests and we would have known that there were these, very transmissible variants, that's one thing. But the president knew that we needed to increase testing capacity. That's why he used the Defense Production Act to expand the supply of at-home tests. Without that, we wouldn't have the supply in the market. Yeah, I think the facts here are, though, important. I understand what you're asking, but I've answered it a couple of times, and I'm trying to give you the facts and details so you can share them with your viewers. So using the Defense Production Act, without that and without 5 approved tests that have happened since October, there wouldn't have been the supply to order then. Those are all pieces that are important components of the process here. That's what I'm trying to convey.
Yeah, I guess, is the president not aware that there were these supply constraints? Because he's saying yesterday that he wishes he had thought of this 2 months ago. Is he not aware that there wasn't the supply at the time to purchase those 500 million?
Well, the president wouldn't have taken the steps in September and October he had taken if we weren't aware that we needed to have increased supply. But also there wasn't the demand back in June for it, right? And Delta changed the mentality in the public for understandable reasons. And the fact that there were only a couple of approved tests just before October, there were only about 3 on the market, right, that we could have tapped into. The president, using the Defense Production Act and investing $3 billion, allowed for there to be an increase in production so we could order the huge number of supply that we're ordering now.
Bigger picture here on